I want to bring in Ashley Parker, staff writer at The Atlantic and an MSNBC political analyst. Eddie Glaude is back with us, and here on set, NBC's Rahima Ellis, who has been following this story so closely for us. What is it exactly that the Trump administration wants Columbia to do?
Very specific about it. He put out a 2-page letter that was sent to the folks at Columbia University, and there's 9 demands that they have on it. We want to put up a full screen and show you what those demands are. He's calling for banning masks. He wants complete disciplinary proceedings against some of the student protesters. Wants a formal definition of anti-Semitism, as well as a reform admissions process, and a third-party review of their Middle East, their South Asian, and their African studies curriculum. He's even talking about the possibility of putting some of these programs under receivership. Didn't say why he would do that, but that's part of the directive that they're saying. If they want that $400 million in federal grant money back, he wants an answer by the end of the day today, by 4 o'clock today, of how they're going to comply with this. Over at Columbia University, people are very upset. They're thinking this is an effort by the federal government to usurp, if you will, the control of a private institution, an Ivy League college, to determine what's going to happen on campus. But the president seems very determined to have some say about that.
So interesting, Eddie. They want to give control, they say, of elementary schools, high schools back local, but they seem to want to dictate in some ways what's happening in colleges and universities. Your own school, Princeton, just paused most hiring, looking to save some worried about funding threats, right? But this isn't just about one grant at Columbia or what Princeton is doing. How is this impactful on an entire student pipeline?
It will impact across the board, Chris. This is an all-out assault on American higher education. This is a sense in which he wants to change the notion of faculty shared governance. He wants to put departments under receivership. He wants to, in so many ways, curb academic freedom and free speech on campuses. There's this belief that college campuses are these kind of spaces that generate these radical left militant students and faculty. And by virtue of that view, a view that's joined with a kind of broad and I think very dangerous definition of anti-Semitism that has led to a wholesale attack on these very extraordinary institutions. American universities and colleges are the envy of the world, and Donald Trump and his minions are literally trying to destroy it. And if Columbia bends the knee in this regard, there's nothing that will satisfy these folk. They will continue to press the case, and Columbia will, I believe, lose its vaunted status in the American higher education landscape, it seems to me.
Ashley, one of your colleagues at The Atlantic had a dire warning for Columbia, and I'm going to quote that. Surrendering to Donald Trump would be a serious error. The first impact would be on Columbia itself, which would be granting control to an administration that has been frank about its desire to knock universities down a few notches. Concession would probably provoke outrage from faculty and students, which could cause tumult, could harm the university's reputation, and crucially, is likely to only invite further attacks from the White House. It is he wrote, death spiral waiting to happen. What are you seeing, and what influence could Columbia's decision have on other universities?
Well, in some ways, you're already seeing the potential ripple effects through other universities, just the fact that Columbia is grappling with this right now, right? You have Dartmouth hiring as one of their top lawyers, a very fervent Trump ally, someone who agrees with him that birthright citizenship is not guaranteed under the 14th Amendment. So you're seeing universities, Princeton as well in a different way, pausing some of its hiring or slowing it down as they prepare for an attack like this on their own institution. So just the mere fact of this, you see other universities in different ways trying to prepare for what might come, trying to find ways, it feels like more with Dartmouth, in trying to placate the Trump administration to stay out of their way. But what's interesting is in doing reporting, not on this specifically, but just on the Trump administration's, their view of things, their motto is, when there's something controversial or scandalous, double down. And when doubling down doesn't work, triple down. Give no quarter, show no weakness. And if the universities do not follow that playbook in certain ways, they show weakness, they give quarter, it does invite the administration to go even further. The flip side, of course, is if the universities stand up to the administration has made clear that it will wreak down quite punitive consequences in the terms of revoking these pretty crucial federal funding grants.
Yeah, Nettie, in no way to understate the impact this could have on knowledge, on learning, on research. I was thinking about the fact that when I went away to college many, many years ago, I don't know how many people said to me, these are going to be the best years of your life. And I don't know how many times I said to nieces, nephews, young people in my life, these are going to be the best years of your life. The freedom, the knowledge, the learning. What's it like on campuses now? Is this having an impact emotionally on students, many of whom already had an emotional impact, obviously having gone through COVID?
Yeah, I mean, look, these are our times. And, our students are coming of age in this moment of crisis. Of course, they're going to have their friends. They're going to go to parties. They're going to fall in love. They're going to have their hearts broken. They're going to encounter stuff in classrooms that are going to move them. They're going to unsettle their assumptions. All of that's going to happen, but the world is what it is. And they're growing up, coming of age in a very challenging time. And, universities and colleges are dangerous places for autocrats, despots, because they are spaces that cultivate critical thinking, independent thinking, self-cultivation, right? And, this is a link to our earlier conversation, Chris, just really quickly. That, the Association for University Professors came into existence because the United States imposed a view, the Sedition Act of 1918. There's a sense, before that, there was an attempt in order to curb free speech in the context of universities and colleges. The same thing happened in the 1940s and the 1950s. There was an attack, an assault on these spaces. Why? Because they cultivate independent thinking. It doesn't necessarily mean ideological consistency and conformity, but folk who are gaining the skills to be self-legislating agents, deliberative folk who are critical for democracy itself. So students are going to go through what they go through. They're going to have their funds. They're going to have their fun. They're going to have their heartbreaks. But this is the world they've inherited. My Lord, this is the world they've inherited.
Ashley, Republicans used to applaud free speech on campus. Now they seem to be fighting it. I wonder what's behind this switch up. There's this demonization of what they see as elite, woke universities, to use their words. Didn't our president and vice president go to Ivy League institutions? I mean, Ashley, what's behind this?
The president quite proudly always likes to mention going to an Ivy League institution, the University of Pennsylvania, and in many areas of his life cares deeply about those sorts of merits and credentials. I mean, he said at one point the air traffic controllers should all come from MIT. So yes, the Republicans have pushed a big game and talked a lot about the importance of free speech. But what you're seeing is their definition of free speech ends with speech that they disagree with, as they've shown their willingness to, go after people, especially people who may only be here on a visa or only have a green card for speech that they don't like. And in some ways, if you look at what's happening with the president's alma mater, the University of Pennsylvania, and other colleges, some of this they realize is politically advantageous to them as cultural issues. Going after schools over the issue, colleges over the issue of trans athletes is something that was very effective for him during the campaign, transgender rights, and is something that is a political issue. We are going to see him and his administration continue to push, and we are seeing in real time that he is threatening colleges and universities who don't get in line with what he has decreed on, he would say, not my words, men playing women's sports or not accepting that there's only two sexes.
Ashley Parker, Rahema Ellis, and Eddie Glaude, that exchange of ideas that is so critical to our future, may it continue vigorously on college campuses. Thank you all for being here for the conversation. Appreciate it.